Nobody. Nobody is an action movie starring Bob Odenkirk, written by Derek Kolstad and directed by Ilya Naishuller. Now, I don't blame you if you don't recognize any of those names, but let me try to break it down a little bit for you. Bob Odenkirk has become famous in recent years for playing Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Derek Kolstad either wrote or helped write all of the John Wick movies, so it makes sense that I thought that this movie looked very John Wickian. Now, Ilya Naishuller as the director, I haven't seen any of his other movies. The only one I've ever heard of is Hardcore Henry, but I never saw it, so this was my first experience with him. I'm going to do my best to give this review without any major spoilers, so bear with me here. So the basic plot is Bob Odenkirk's character, Hutch Mansell, seems like your average, everyday working man, has a 9 to 5, comes home to a family, but it turns out that he has a past where he used to work as an auditor for one of those 3-letter agencies where he was basically a hitman. And he's kind of brought back into this world starting when there's a break-in at his home. From the get-go, this movie grabs you with interesting editing and directing choices to really get the movie going very, very fast. I really enjoyed some of the stylistic choices, and I appreciated that they didn't include anything they felt was unnecessary, and they really got us into the thick of it right from the get-go. Bob Odenkirk plays one hell of a charismatic character. You feel for this guy, you understand him, you're rooting for him throughout the whole movie. The fight scenes are very entertaining, they're very fun to watch. They do some interesting things you don't see in a lot of action movies, where there's music in some scenes, not in others. I really like the music choices and the lack of music in certain areas. It all makes for a very unique fight scene whenever it happens. I guess at some point I'm going to have to get into the cons of this movie, so let me just get into some of the nitpicks I have. The antagonist of this movie is a very cookie-cutter, cliche action movie villain. He's kind of a Russian mafioso, which you've seen in I don't know how many movies. It's kind of similar to some of the antagonists in some of the John Wick movies, and that's another thing. At times, this movie feels a little bit too like some of the John Wick movies, and at others, it feels like its own thing. So it only happens sometimes, but occasionally you're like, I know where you got that from. The movie also does some things that it's inconsistent with, story structure-wise, such as narration that it kind of just abandons. So I could have just done without that at all. It also does one of those things where it starts at the end and then goes back to show you how you got there, and I don't hate that in every movie, but I felt that this one didn't need that. The fight scenes sometimes seemed really realistic and sometimes not at all, so it was a little inconsistent there, but it doesn't really affect your enjoyment. The plot is your basic action movie plot, but once again, it doesn't affect your enjoyment at all. I still had a hell of a time. Okay, now for the pros, because there were a lot of pros. I mentioned before that there was really cool directing and editing, which is essential to have a good action movie. The humor that was interjected into this movie was actually funny too. It made me laugh. It wasn't overpowering. It didn't take you out of the movie. It added to the scene. So props to them for that. There's a couple of actors that I won't name in case you want to see this movie and be surprised by them, but I was really happy when they showed up and had a great time watching them and Bob Odenkirk do their thing. And once again, to talk about Bob Odenkirk, he is a gem in this movie. He's great. I could watch him in anything, doing anything, and I would be happy as can be. There's one specific scene where they included a song while they're doing their action movie stuff that I really enjoyed, and I know I was sitting there grinning like a fool during it. Like I was throughout a lot of this movie. I was just sitting there grinning like an idiot, and that's a really good sign for your movie if that's making me do that. Oh, as an added bonus pro for this movie, one of the producers is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Tobey Maguire. When all is said and done, this is the most fun I've had in a movie theater in a long time. I give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. It was a cinematic shot of serotonin. I really recommend everyone go see this. It's only an hour and a half. It's a whole lot of fun for that hour and a half. It's better than the other movies out right now. So go see Nobody. Alright, we're at the end, so you know what to do. Like, subscribe, tell your friends and acquaintances, email your governor, tell that guy who rides his unicycle to college classes for some reason.
It's been a hell of a day.
Thanks a lot, guys, and see you next time.